have a special reveal coming to you from Zero Gravity.
Everyone who's been following Katy Perry lately can see the writing on the wall. She's teetering on the edge of a dramatic downfall. From the backlash surrounding her recent Lifetimes tour to the ridicule sparked by her Blue Origin field trip, it seems like everything she touches these days turns into instant controversy. The same fans who once eagerly awaited her every release are now suggesting she retire gracefully. Her Lifetimes tour, in particular, was a disaster. Entire sections of stadiums were empty, and her performances were heavily criticized. Her dance moves were termed robotic, awkward, and badly choreographed. Don't just take our word for it. Watch the footage. To make matters worse, before the tour kicked off, instead of focusing on rehearsals, Perry appeared more invested in staging a headline-grabbing stunt, namely her Blue Origin space trip. Framed as a bold mission to empower women and reconnect with the Earth, the execution was anything but inspiring. In reality, it was a group of ultra-wealthy women spending obscene amounts of money for a brief 11-minute ride to space. Yes, you heard that right. 11 minutes for over $200 million. If this already has your brain doing somersaults, just wait. There's more. From suing a group of old nuns to collaborating with a person facing serious misconduct allegations, Katy Perry's track record is a whirlwind of questionable choices and chaotic behavior. In today's video, we're unpacking how one of pop's biggest stars became so painfully out of touch. It's a wild ride through scandals, missteps, and tone-deaf decisions, so buckle up and stick with us as we dive deep into the unraveling world of Katy Perry. If you live under a rock and don't know who Katy Perry is, here is a brief breakdown. During the 2010, Katy was considered a pop legend. She emerged in 2008 with one of the most iconic, glamorous, and bold songs that literally made her the face of pop music. She was one of the most followed and talked about artists of that decade, with millions of fans calling themselves Katy Cats. Not only that, one of her albums, Teenage Dream, managed to produce 5 #1 singles on the Billboard Hot 100. Before Katy, no female singer had ever done that. Her popularity during the first half of the 2010 was insanely through the roof. Her tracks dominated the airwaves and sound systems everywhere, from amusement parks to concert halls. It was her endearing, quirky nature that made people fall in love with her, and her music only deepened that connection. But with time, Katy started acting a little out of touch. Her music became very uninspired, forced, and weirdly woke. The same fans who once swooned over her music began calling her out for rebranding herself to act socially conscious.
Katy Perry's album finally happened to us. We all knew it was coming, we all knew it was going to be bad, and as it turns out, it was. So while this is by no means a surprising story, I still think it's quite interesting because this is hands down the most critically panned album I have ever seen in my life.
Historically well known for her self-empowerment jams, the rises and roars and fireworks of her catalog. We get another dose of that here, but in this case it feels less like this is for you and instead this is for me because I'm going through some troubles. This is me growing up through the cracks right now on daisies. This is my resilience that needs a pep talk at the moment on resilience.
But here's the thing. This wasn't the first time Katy Perry reinvented herself. In fact, many people don't realize that she came from a strict, deeply religious Christian household, where even watching MTV was off limits. Yes, both of Katy's parents had lived wild, rebellious lives in their youth, but later became devout pastors. Growing up, Katy spent much of her childhood traveling across the U.S. as her parents moved from place to place helping to establish churches. While she has often credited them for instilling strong values and morals, she's also spoken openly about their conservative parenting style, so much so that she didn't even know who Madonna was as a kid. Most of her exposure to pop culture came from her friends, not from home.
You know, when you're 13 and 14 and 15, you think you know everything in the world. And, you know, you start to fight back and you're like, what? I mean, I'm starting to see glimpses of the outside world through different television programs or music or going outside or having a friend with a different perspective to watch MTV, or I didn't really know who Madonna was. And I couldn't eat Lucky Charms because it was too closely associated to Lucifer, which is the devil's name. Can't call it deviled eggs, have to call it angel eggs. Can't even call it the dirt devil vacuum, have to call it the angel vacuum. I mean, it was pretty intense.
Although secular music was banned in their household, her parents encouraged her to sing gospel songs from an early age. As both Katy and her sister had naturally gifted voices, their parents helped them take vocal and piano lessons. From an early age of 9, Katy started singing in church gatherings, holding a guitar in her hands and soulfully repeating gospel songs.
People in the world will never truly be so free. Yeah, only reason that I live is Christ come down and died for you and me. I live because Christ died, and though he suffered it all from me.
Although gospel music was all Katy ever sang during her childhood, her curiosity about secular music was always simmering beneath the surface. She shared memories of secretly borrowing pop CDs from friends and sneaking them into her room, listening to them in private. Still, despite her growing fascination with mainstream music, Katy actually launched her music career with a gospel album, staying true to her roots before eventually making the leap into pop stardom. At just 16, Katy caught the attention of a few rock artists who were impressed by her voice and potential. They flew her out to Nashville, where she quickly signed with Red Hill Records and released her debut album titled Katy Hudson, which notably is her birth name. However, at the time, contemporary Christian music was a niche genre. While it had a devoted audience, it wasn't a path to mainstream fame or stardom. The album didn't make much of a splash. In fact, it sold only around 200 copies. It was clear that if Katy wanted a bigger stage and global recognition, she needed to pivot. And so, she took a leap of faith, leaving behind her gospel beginnings and embracing the world of secular pop music. With that bold decision, she packed her bags and moved to Los Angeles, California, ready to reinvent herself and chase mainstream success. After moving to California, Katy signed with several record labels, but none of the deals worked out in her favor. Despite the setbacks, she used that time to sharpen her skills, develop her sound, and grow as an artist. Her real breakthrough didn't come until 2007, when she finally signed with Capitol Records. At Capitol, she was introduced to Dr. Luke, the high-profile producer who helped her craft a polished pop image. Together, they wrote songs, refined her sound, and shaped her into a commercial powerhouse. The result was her next album, One of the Boys, a game changer that broke records and catapulted Katy into the spotlight. The album's lead single, I Kissed a Girl, released in April 2008, topped the Billboard Hot 100 and went on to sell over 7 million copies worldwide. It was bold, catchy, and instantly iconic, but it also stirred up controversy. While many praised it as relatable and empowering, the song faced criticism from both conservative groups and parts of the LGBTQ+ community. Conservatives labeled it inappropriate, while some LGBTQ+ activists accused Katy of exploring attraction across genders as a marketing gimmick. Despite the backlash, the song's popularity was overwhelming and ultimately overshadowed the criticism. But it wasn't just the public Katy had to contend with. There were also her strictly religious parents. In a later interview, she revealed that she had her sister break the news to their parents about the song airing on the radio, joking that she didn't want them to have a heart attack.
When I wrote I Kissed a Girl, it was about to come out on the radio. And I remember that And I was like, okay, well, my parents are going to find out. So I asked my older sister, I was like, maybe you want to give them the heads up so they don't like have a heart attack in the car as they're driving home. Even though it was very challenging for them, you know, and I still, you know, I still push and they still pray.
While her parents didn't necessarily support her beliefs or artistic choices, Katy told MTV that they didn't object to her success, even if it clashed with their values. Katy Perry's next album, released in 2010, was an even bigger success than her previous hit One of the Boys. Titled Teenage Dream, this album cemented her status as a major force in pop music, an artist known for delivering emotionally charged, empowering anthems that resonated with a global audience. The album captured the emotional highs and lows of youth, from intense crushes and wild nights to heartbreak, fantasy, desire, and self-discovery. It was a vibrant, emotionally rich collection that felt like a complete pop experience, striking a chord with listeners everywhere. The lead single, California Gurls, debuted at number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100, setting the tone for what would become a record-breaking era in Katy's career. She followed it up with a string of chart-topping hits, Teenage Dream, Firework, E.T., and Last Friday Night, all of which also reached number 1 on the Hot 100. With those 5 singles, Katy Perry became the first female artist in history to score 5 number 1 hits. 1 song on the Hot 100 from a single album. The only artist to achieve that before her was Michael Jackson, with his legendary critically underwhelming album. Katy didn't stop there. She also set another astonishing record after spending 69 consecutive weeks on the Billboard Hot 100. What followed the massive success of Teenage Dream was Katy Perry's wildly successful California Dreams tour. Designed to support the album, the tour grossed over $60 million globally and became one of the most talked about pop tours of the year. Critics praised its Candyland-inspired theme, whimsical visuals, and theatrical production, a vibrant and immersive experience that perfectly reflected the album's youthful spirit. And it is important to note this tour was nothing like the bizarre, out-of-touch stunts she's pulled in more recent years, with odd dance routines, robotic stage props, and confusing aesthetics. While Katy's performances have always leaned into extravagance and over-the-top visuals, during the Teenage Dream era, she was celebrated for her genuine energy, infectious charm, and magnetic stage presence. The visuals amplified the fun, but it was Katy's enthusiasm that truly entertained audiences. In the months that followed, Katy continued to ride the wave of fame, collecting awards and making appearances on major television shows like Sesame Street, How I Met Your Mother, The Simpsons, and Saturday Night Live.
Ed, this is my cousin.
Kids, to be honest, I don't quite remember this girl's name. None of us do. Because as this story has been told and retold, we've always just referred to her as...
Honey.
Hi, honey. I'm Ted.
Hi, Elmo. Hi, Miss Katy. Are you ready to play dress up?
Pop star / fashionista Katy Perry.
In 2012, she also released her autobiographical documentary, Katy Perry, Part of Me, giving fans a behind-the-scenes look at her rise to stardom. However, not everything was smooth sailing. Her appearance on Sesame Street stirred up a bit of controversy when she wore a dress that many felt revealed too much cleavage for a children's show. The Sesame Workshop later announced that the segment would not air on television because it was apparently too risky. However, it was still made available online. Katy took the backlash in stride and even mocked the incident during her guest appearance on Saturday Night Live. After the Teenage Dream success, Katy naturally became a feminist icon all across the globe. Even though she did not actively work for the feminist cause or take part in any campaigns, people started seeing her as an advocate for self-expression and women's empowerment. This perception of her was solely because of her empowering and emotionally charged songs. Songs like Firework were celebrated not only for their catchy and soulful tone, but also for their encouraging and self-empowering lyrics. Katy's songs heavily resonated with the teenage girls of that decade, making her a feminist icon among them. Billboard naming her Women of the Year in 2010 also solidified this image in the eyes of the masses. This may be the reason why Katy delivered a more emotionally raw and sonically diverse experience in her next project, Prism. She told multiple news publications that she planned Prism to be more dark and minimalistic, and that is exactly how it turned out.
Love this CD so very much. It debuted at #1. And what do you think? I think I know what's different, but what do you think is different about this than the last CD?
Well, Teenage Dream was so much fun, but it was very highly conceptual. It was almost as like I created this cartoony character, an exaggerated version of me, and everything was very colorful and full of candy and stuff. But I think that this record is a lot more vulnerable. It shows another side of me, another layer of me and my mind and all the different things I've been through. And
the first song from the album, Roar, came out in 2013 and instantly topped the charts on the US Billboard Hot 100. After that, Dark Horse became the next song to break all records. While Katy's previous albums carried a more quirky, fun aesthetic, this one looked and felt a lot different, with a more earthy and minimalist feel. The songs, while powerful and catchy, carried a deeper message and focused on healing, growth, and self-reflection. Following the massive success of Prism, Katy Perry launched her highly anticipated Prismatic World Tour, and it did not disappoint. The tour grossed over $204 million globally, making it one of the highest-grossing tours of the decade. Notably, Katy became the first female artist to lead the highest-grossing tour in North America at that time, a groundbreaking achievement that solidified her status as a pop powerhouse. Major outlets like Rolling Stone and BBC praised the tour for its electric visuals, bold production themes, and Perry's signature mix of humor, charisma, and high-energy performances. With elaborate staging, futuristic costumes, and strong vocal execution, the Prismatic Tour was more than just a concert. It was a full-blown spectacle. In every way, Katy was at the peak of her career, both artistically and commercially. Her skyrocketing popularity soon caught the attention of the NFL, which was considering artists for the coveted Super Bowl 49 halftime show. With back-to-back hits and massive global appeal, Katy was chosen over other top contenders like Rihanna and Coldplay. In 2015, she delivered a legendary halftime performance in front of nearly 118 million viewers, breaking the previous viewership record set by Bruno Mars. From riding a giant lion to dancing sharks, the performance was a dazzling display of showmanship that became the most watched halftime show in Super Bowl history. Beyond critical acclaim and viral moments, the performance also paid off financially as Katy's music catalog saw a 92% boost in sales immediately after the show. But sadly, even after such monumental success, the dark hour was quietly creeping in for Katy Perry. She just didn't see it coming. By 2016 and 2017, fans and critics began noticing a dramatic shift in Perry's public image and artistic direction. With Prism, she had already shown she was capable of producing deeper, more emotionally resonant music. So naturally, she wanted to evolve even further, this time by making her next album politically and socially conscious. Katy's intention was to surprise listeners by stepping into a more woke version of pop, one that addressed real-world issues and inspired change. But here's the thing. Fans didn't fall in love with Katy Perry because of her political commentary. They loved her for being quirky, bold, playful, and relatable. The girl who made you want to dance, scream out lyrics in your bedroom, and feel good about yourself. So when the lead single from her next album, Chained to the Rhythm, dropped, it landed with a strange thud. Despite being co-written by Sia and marketed as a political wake-up call, the message was blurred and diluted. The track had an undeniably catchy beat, a glossy visual aesthetic, and a danceable rhythm. But the supposed message about blind conformity and societal apathy got lost in translation. Critics gave it mixed reviews, and longtime fans were confused. They couldn't quite place where Katy was headed with her music. Katy's public perception at the time of the release was also not very good. Everybody could see that she was in the process of rebranding herself, and it all appeared very abrupt and forced. On top of that, her feud with Taylor Swift and her extremely awkward behavior during promotions overshadowed the actual message of the song.
Well, I think it's just, it's a song that has a lot of thought and question marks and suggestion in it. I think it's up to the listener and the viewer to ask themselves the question, like, are they a part of this cycle? What are they putting into the world? Is it positive? Can they break the cycle? Are they a robot? Can they contribute something wonderful? And I think that it's just up to the listener to kind of like ask maybe some of the difficult questions. Because I feel like even in the past, I've been a part of the problem, but I think a lot of that was just from my conditioning of how I grew up and the kind of level of consciousness I was in, which wasn't very much.
Even before the release of Chained to the Rhythm, Katy made her political stance clear on numerous occasions. She was no doubt the most prominent celebrity supporter of Hillary Clinton, even though she never physically took part in politics. But after Chained to the Rhythm, something changed in her attitude. It was very evident that she wanted to act on what she preached, even if that looked uninspired or forced. So, she began performing at Clinton's rallies, accompanied her during the 2016 presidential campaign, and even wore outfits emblazoned with her name.
I think Hillary recognizes all of our voices, and she hears us, she sees us, and she knows that we're stronger together. We are. It doesn't matter about the others. They're going to be in this with us. We're all together in this. And you know what? No matter who you are or where you come from, she'll be a president for all of us. Because I come from...
After Hillary Clinton lost the 2016 election, Katy Perry became even more vocal about the need for socially conscious music. She expressed that the political climate had shifted dramatically, and there was now a greater need for woke pop songs. While Chained to the Rhythm was a lukewarm start, the songs that followed on Katy Perry's 2017 album Witness only deepened the disappointment. Tracks like Bon Appetit and Swish Swish felt awkward, out of touch, and disconnected from the album's supposed message. The biggest issue with Witness was that it tried to do too much at once, blending dance pop with social commentary, empowerment anthems with emotional ballads, but ended up doing none of it convincingly. The album lacked cohesion. Each song felt like it belonged to a different project entirely. Critics pointed out that while Witness was marketed as bold, conscious, and politically relevant, the lyrics often came across as shallow and surface level, lacking the depth needed to truly resonate. In the end, Witness missed the mark because it lacked the authenticity, charm, and clarity that made Katy's earlier albums so successful. Unlike Teenage Dream or Prism, which stayed on the Billboard Hot 100 for weeks on end, Witness faded quickly, a sign that even Katy's loyal fans were unsure of who she was trying to be. It wasn't just the album Witness that left fans underwhelmed. The accompanying tour only amplified the confusion surrounding Katy Perry's artistic direction. While the shows still featured her signature extravagance with vibrant visuals, elaborate props, and eye-catching costumes, critics and fans alike noted that the tour lacked emotional connection and thematic coherence. What stood out the most were the bizarre, often cringeworthy moments peppered throughout the performances. Unlike her earlier tours, where Perry's charisma carried the energy, this time her audience interactions felt forced and uncomfortable. Despite Katy's repeated claims during promotions that the tour would be a spiritual journey, the actual presentation said otherwise. The shows were filled with dancing flamingos, inflatable eyeballs, and cartoon-like visuals, aesthetics that clashed with any sense of depth or introspection she was aiming for. And then there was the now viral floating planet malfunction. During one of her performances, Katy was left awkwardly suspended midair when a stage prop failed to lower her back down to the stage. The moment quickly turned into a hilarious spectacle, but Katy handled it well and waved it off with humor.
But actually, this thing is being stopped right now. They're loading me down and talking to me in my ear. It's a whole big thing. You better pick your phone up because this is a YouTube moment.
In the end, the Witness tour became a reflection of the album itself, visually ambitious, but emotionally disconnected. During the promotion of the Witness Worldwide Tour, Katy also tried to address the cultural appropriation backlash that has been following her for years. For context, Katy, on multiple occasions, has been accused of cultural appropriation. The most notable instance was when she dressed as a geisha for her 2013 AMA performance. In the music video of her song, This Is How We Do, she was also seen wearing cornrows and eating watermelon. These instances of cultural appropriation have sparked swift backlash for Katy, but she addressed this issue when she sat down with Black Lives Matter activist DeRay McKesson for a podcast around her Witness-era tour. She said that she failed to see the problem with her actions until a friend took her aside and explained to her. She said, "She told me about the power in Black women's hair and how beautiful it is and the struggle. I listened and I heard, and I didn't know. I won't ever understand some of those things because of who I am. I will never understand, but I can educate myself, and that's what I'm trying to do along the way." Addressing the geisha controversy, Katy said, "I didn't know that I did it wrong until I heard people saying that I did it wrong. It takes someone to say, out of compassion, out of love, hey, this is what the origin is." While Katy appeared genuine and apologetic in this podcast, another incident happened in 2019 that left everyone confused and disgusted with Perry. For those who are unaware, Katy Perry has a shoe line named Katy Perry Collections that she launched in 2017. In 2019, the shoe line introduced a new shoe range that strikingly resembled blackface. This move by Perry sparked instant debate as people started calling her racist and accused her of using blackface imagery in her shoe line. Throughout history, we have seen this stereotypical imagery being used in shows and performances as a means of entertainment. It originated in minstrel shows and still continues today. Popular actors in the past have worn black makeup and exaggerated red lips to appear funny. Before Katy, brands like Prada and Gucci have also been called out for using insensitive blackface imagery to design their products. When the backlash surrounding the shoe range increased, Katy immediately took notice and apologized, saying, "I was saddened when it was brought to my attention that it was being compared to painful images reminiscent of blackface. Our intention was never to inflict any pain. We have immediately removed them." As Katy said, the shoes were swiftly taken off the shelves across all U.S. stores. But the truth is, this wasn't the first time Katy Perry had been called out for being insensitive, whether toward cultures, races, or people in general. Longtime followers of her career are also well aware of her behavior as a judge on American Idol, a role she took on in 2018. Since then, she's sparked several controversies on the show, often making headlines for comments that felt dismissive, tone-deaf, or even mean-spirited. One of the most talked about incidents happened during auditions when a 25-year-old contestant, Sarah Beth Liba, mentioned that she was a mother of 3. Katy's exaggerated reaction quickly turned awkward. She stood up in shock and moments later joked, saying that, "Honey, you've been lying on the table too much."
I have 3 kids, so that's like...
Get away from here. What are you saying?
Okay, Katy?
Nope.
It's okay.
If Katy lays on the table, I think I'm gonna pass out.
3 kids.
Honey, you've been laying on the table too much.
What was likely intended as humor came across as deeply hurtful and inappropriate, especially considering the vulnerability of someone sharing their personal story on national TV. Sarah Beth later posted a video on TikTok where she opened up about the experience, saying she felt embarrassed and ridiculed. The moment affected her so deeply that she ended up leaving the show, explaining that she didn't feel like she belonged in that environment.
Go and audition on American Idol. I mentioned that I had 3 children and was a young mother, and Katy Perry made a joke that wasn't super kind. And yeah, that's what this is all, I guess, about. I don't really have too much to say on my feelings about it because I feel like it's probably pretty self-explanatory. I mean, it was embarrassing to have that on TV, and it was hurtful, and, you know, that's...
Unfortunately, this wasn't an isolated incident. Katy has been criticized multiple times for her treatment of female contestants. On one occasion, she fixated on a performer's glittery outfit instead of acknowledging her powerful performance. While the crowd cheered and the other judges offered praise, Katy's unsolicited critique felt unnecessary, and the audience even booed her in response.
Performance so much embodies why we love you.
That was just so wonderful to watch, and congratulations.
Thank you so much. I love you so much.
Katy.
It's like you glitter bomb the stage.
It's like those baby reveal cannons just go.
Yeah, exactly. Listen, I think that one thing I personally would like to see from you is not one piece of glitter the next time. I know that's gonna be hard. Liner, baby, eyeliner.
Yes! Yes! Katy got booed. Katy got booed.
Okay, first time in 6 seasons. Woo!
In another uncomfortable moment, right after a contestant's performance, Katy began discussing the unexpected elimination of another singer, completely overshadowing the contestant on stage. Instead of offering support or feedback, she derailed the focus, making it more about shock value than the person performing. Many fans on social media were outraged, with some even demanding that she and the other judges apologize for ruining the contestant's moment. Across all these instances, a pattern emerged, one that painted Katy as someone who often used sarcasm to ridicule and mock female contestants. While Katy often behaved with female contestants in a dismissive manner, her attitude with male contestants, particularly the ones with charisma and good looks, was very different. And by different, we mean flirty, enticing, and problematic. This clip will give you an idea of what we are talking about.
You're like,
this isn't real.
no, I mean, here's the thing. First of all, like, only hot guys are typically named Trevor.
Is that right?
Yeah, well, that's one of the names. Trevor, he's hot. He does construction on the side, and he loves his mom.
I do, very much so.
Trevor.
Yes, ma'am.
Don't call me ma'am.
I'm sorry, I respect you so much.
Don't respect me.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Don't respect me.
And as you can guess, this was not a one-off incident. As the show continued, Katy flirted with this guy, Trevor, multiple times. What made this particularly awkward was the fact that Trevor had a girlfriend who was frequently seen in the audience supporting him. Despite this, Katy repeatedly made flirtatious remarks and swooned over his performances.
Slow Hands by Niall Horan.
But would the love fest continue with last night's showcase?
We should take this back to my place.
There's even another clip showing Katy swooning over a 22-year-old during his audition.
Nick, you know you're like a handsome gentleman, correct?
Thank you.
You've heard it once or twice, right?
Maybe once.
Do you have a girlfriend?
No, I don't.
Do you have many girlfriends?
Oh, come on. No, I don't have many girlfriends.
While these moments weren't necessarily offensive, they did raise some eyebrows, especially as her on-screen behavior started to become increasingly erratic. But then came the incident that genuinely made people question Katy's sanity. A teenage contestant, barely 19, auditioned for American Idol and shared with the judges that he had never been kissed. The 2 male judges reacted with surprise but kept things respectful. Katy, however, took a very different route. She jokingly offered to be his first smooch, an offer that already felt inappropriate given the context and power dynamics.
I can't kiss a girl without being in a relationship.
Come here, bud.
Wait, hold on.
Come here.
Come on.
Come here right now.
You can't
Come
be.
here right now. Come here.
What followed was even more concerning. When the contestant hesitated and awkwardly refused to smooch her, Katy insisted he smooch her on the cheek. But the moment he leaned in, she turned her head and smooched him on the lips instead. The incident left many viewers stunned, and frankly, uncomfortable. Critics pointed out that had the roles been reversed, the backlash would have been swift and severe. Yet in this case, the moment largely flew under the radar. The contestant later spoke to the New York Times, stating that while the smooch was unwanted, he didn't feel subjected to unwanted advances. Still, the situation sparked important discussions about consent, power imbalance, and double standards in the media. But the story didn't end there. In a disturbing twist, a few years after the incident, that same contestant was arrested for possession of illegal content involving minors. Authorities reportedly found a significant amount of illegal content on his phone, leading to charges and his release on bond. Many fans, shocked by this development, ironically suggested that Katy might now have a reason to release a sequel to her iconic hit, jokingly titled, "I Kissed a Pervert and I Did Not Like It." Beyond her controversial behavior as a judge on American Idol, Katy Perry has also raised eyebrows for her inappropriate interactions with other public figures, particularly younger male celebrities. One widely circulated clip shows a much younger Justin Bieber approaching Perry for a hug, only for her to unexpectedly grab his butt during the interaction. At the time, Justin was clearly a teenager, while Katy was already an adult woman. The moment, though passed off as playful, left many viewers uncomfortable. Critics pointed out that had the genders been reversed, a grown male celebrity grabbing a young female star, the backlash would have been enormous and potentially career-ending. But perhaps the most serious accusations came in 2019 when actor and model Josh Kloss, who played Perry's love interest in her 2010 Teenage Dream music video, came forward with claims of inappropriate behavior. In an Instagram post, Kloss alleged that during a 2012 birthday party, Katy Perry pulled down his pants and underwear in front of a group of her male friends, exposing his genitals without his consent. He described feeling deeply humiliated. Kloss also shared that Perry's behavior during the filming of Teenage Dream was emotionally cold and condescending. According to him, she once told other crew members that smooching him was unsettling, a remark that left him feeling demeaned and objectified. In addition to the emotional toll, Kloss revealed that he was only paid $650 for the entire video shoot, despite the video's massive success and ongoing cultural relevance. Interestingly, Katy Perry did not publicly respond to these allegations right away. However, her longtime stylist and creative director, Johnny Wujek, dismissed Kloss's claims, stating that Perry would never do something like that. He further suggested that Kloss had always exhibited an unhealthy obsession with Perry, which cast doubt on his credibility. The incident sparked a polarizing response. Some people expressed support for Kloss, noting how male survivors of inappropriate behavior are often ignored, especially when the perpetrator is a powerful woman. Others questioned why Kloss waited so many years to speak out, suggesting that the delayed reporting may impact the validity of his claims. Many years later, in 2020, Katy finally addressed these allegations, saying that, "I think we live in a world where anyone can say anything. I don't want to say guilty until proven innocent, but there's no checks and balances. A headline just flies, right? And there's no investigation of what it is. I don't want to add to the noise. I want to add to the truth, basically." When asked if the allegations weren't true, she replied, "I don't comment on all the things that are said about me because if I chase that dragon, it would be about true and falsing my whole life. It's distracting from the real movement." This wasn't the only controversy Katy Perry had to face in 2019. That same year, a long-running copyright lawsuit came to a head, and the verdict initially didn't land in her favor. She was ordered to pay $550,000 in damages, part of a larger $2.78 million judgment against her and her collaborators. For context, the lawsuit stemmed from her 2013 hit single, Dark Horse. In 2014, Christian rapper Marcus Gray, better known as Flame, filed a lawsuit against Perry, along with Capitol Records, Dr. Luke, and others. He alleged that Dark Horse had plagiarized the ostinato, a repeated musical phrase, from his 2008 track Joyful Noise. The case revolved around the similarity between the two songs' musical patterns. After a lengthy legal battle, a California jury ruled in 2019 that Perry and her team had indeed infringed on Gray's work, awarding millions in damages. Perry herself was found personally liable for over $500,000. However, the tables turned just 1 year later. In 2020, a U.S. District Court judge overturned the jury's decision, ruling that the musical pattern in question, the ostinato, was too common and unoriginal to qualify for copyright protection. The judge emphasized that the riff was made up of basic musical building blocks and lacked the kind of originality that copyright law is designed to protect. This legal battle also reminded us of another lawsuit involving Perry that took place in 2015. Yes, we are talking about her lengthy, messy, and exhausting legal feud with the convent of nuns. This legal battle was so public and so exhausting that it got the attention of the entire internet. And what's most bizarre is the fact that a nun actually died in a courtroom fighting the lawsuit. So, this is how it all started. In 2014, Katy saw a giant convent in Los Angeles and decided to turn it into her own personal mansion. To buy this massive 8-acre property, she got in touch with the Archdiocese of Los Angeles and offered to pay over $14.5 million. If you don't know what an archdiocese is, consider it a central headquarters for the Catholic Church in a specific region. It includes various churches and parishes and is often overseen by an archbishop. While the Archdiocese had no problem selling Katy this practically vacant convent, a group of nuns who had previously resided there for decades had an issue with this deal. The nuns thought the Archdiocese had no right to sell the property without the sisters' permission or approval. While the Archdiocese believed the convent was the church's property, they had the right to decide what to do with it. Now, originally, this convent belonged to a wealthy man named Daniel Donahue. In the early 1970s, he gifted the property to the Sisters of the Immaculate Heart of Mary. These nuns lived at the convent from 1972 to 2011. They reportedly maintained this castle-size estate with their teaching income. Initially, the nuns were significant in number, reportedly more than 52. But as time passed, their number reduced, and by 2011, only 5 nuns were living at the convent.
He sold it to us for $600,000 in the installment plans for 6 years, and then it became ours.
In 2011, the Archdiocese of Los Angeles decided it was time to sell the convent in Los Feliz and relocate the nuns who had lived there for decades. The official reasoning was practical. The property was old, expensive to maintain, and underutilized. Church officials also stated that the proceeds from the eventual sale would go towards supporting the retirement needs of aging nuns and priests. While this explanation seemed compassionate on the surface, 2 of the nuns, Sister Catherine Rose Holzman and Sister Rita Kalainen, later challenged that narrative. They claimed the Archdiocese never contributed a single dime toward the maintenance of the convent while they were living there.
They stood in the courtroom and said that, as you well know, the Archdiocese has taken care of the sisters. Now that is a big lie, because the Archbishop has never, ever taken care of us. We've never had to ask for a penny. If you have $6 million, why would you have to ask for help?
In their view, the sale had nothing to do with benevolence and everything to do with bailing the church out of financial trouble.
I think that he just simply wants the money from the villa. which is his desire to sell to Katy Perry.
How can they use that money and look at it and say, I got it by lying? And I took it from the sisters who wanted it for the poor, the Pope, trafficking, help people on the street, and doing it because it's the right thing to do. They can't go do this to somebody else, because though somebody else doesn't have the money like we got it, earned it.
And that accusation wasn't made lightly. According to the sisters, the Archdiocese was likely using the property to help pay off its massive 2007 clergy abuse settlement, which totaled $660 million, a payout made to over 500 victims of abuse within the LA Archdiocese. That settlement was one of the largest in church history, and the timing of the convent sale raised eyebrows. The sisters, members of the Sisters of the Immaculate Heart of Mary, were especially disturbed to learn who the potential buyer was. To them, the idea of selling their beloved convent to a pop star known for songs like I Kissed a Girl and So Gay felt entirely inappropriate and even sacrilegious. In an email to the Archbishop, they explained that selling the property to Perry would be a violation of their canonical vows. They also searched Perry online, and they did not like what they found. This is what one of the sisters told the Los Angeles Times. I found Katy Perry and I found her videos, and if it's all right to say, I wasn't happy with any of it. Unfortunately, Sister Rita also stumbled upon one of Katy's interviews where she was openly admitting that she had sold her soul to the devil.
Music industry, because I swear I wanted to be like the Amy Grant of music, but it didn't work out, and so I sold my soul to the devil.
If we are to be honest, this interview must have been the final nail in the coffin. At the time, the sisters were already in conversation with someone else, Dana Hollister, a local restaurateur who offered $15.5 million for the property. Her plan was to transform the convent into a boutique hotel that would be open to the public. Unlike Perry, Hollister had no controversial pop persona, and the nuns felt she was a far more suitable steward for the space. Hoping to smooth things over, the Archdiocese arranged a meeting between Katy Perry and the sisters. That meeting, held in May 2015, was awkward to say the least. Trying to connect with them on a spiritual level, Katy told the sisters she hadn't sold her soul to the devil, that she had grown up in a devout Christian household, and even sang a bit of Oh Happy Day. Unfortunately, she didn't know the lyrics and had to pull them up on her phone mid-song, an awkward moment that didn't exactly go as planned. Although the sisters applauded her effort out of politeness, they had already made up their minds. They didn't want Katy Perry to own the property. The nuns recalled that Katy also showed them the Jesus tattoo on her wrist. This was actually proof that her soul was still with her, not with the devil. During the meeting, Katy also told the nuns that she planned to live there with her mother and grandmother and needed this property to find herself. However, the nuns later mocked her explanation, saying that Katy's past comments about selling her soul to the devil were more than enough to turn them off. Despite the sisters' objections, the Archdiocese, which was firmly on Katy's side, decided to move ahead with the sale and finalize the transfer of the property to her. But the nuns weren't giving up without a fight. In a bold move to stop the sale, they arranged their own deal, selling the convent to restaurateur Dana Hollister for $15.5 million. The sisters claimed they chose Dana not just because of the money, but because her vision aligned with theirs. Dana wanted to turn the estate into a boutique hotel that would remain open to the public. In contrast, Katy wanted to convert the property into her own private mansion. So, before the Archdiocese could finalize its sale to Perry, the sisters handed the deed to Dana Hollister, who even moved into the property shortly after. Naturally, this set off alarms. Katy Perry was furious that someone had stepped in to take the estate she had already begun negotiating for. Meanwhile, the archdiocese was outraged that the sisters had acted without their approval, claiming the nuns had no legal authority to sell the property. In 2015, Katy Perry and the archdiocese jointly sued Dana Hollister and the Sisters of the Immaculate Heart of Mary. What followed was a long and bitter legal battle. The case finally ended in 2017, with the court siding with Perry and the archdiocese. The ruling stated that Hollister's purchase was invalid because the sisters had no legal ownership of the convent. The property belonged to the church. A few months later, the court took things a step further. It found that Hollister had acted with malice, oppression, and fraud by interfering with the sale and was ordered to pay $10 million in damages, split between Katy Perry and the archdiocese. The penalty was so severe that Hollister filed for bankruptcy shortly after. Although Katy legally won the case, the victory came at a heavy cost, and she still didn't get the property. According to church rules, any sale over $7 million required approval from the Vatican. While the Vatican did approve the deal, it also required the archdiocese to find a new location for the house of prayer that still operated on the convent grounds. When the church failed to relocate it, the entire deal quietly stalled and eventually fizzled out. But the most tragic part of this story came in March 2018, when Sister Catherine Rose Holzman, age 89, collapsed and died in the courtroom during a hearing. Her cause of death was a heart attack. Just hours before her passing, a clip surfaced where she was pleading with Katy Perry to stop the legal battle. Those words would end up being her last.
Please stop. It's not doing anyone any good except hurting a...
After her death, Sister Rita, who had fought alongside Catherine, publicly stated that Katy had held responsibility for what happened. She also shared that the years-long legal fight had taken a devastating emotional toll on them both.
Very, very stressful for me. All this litigation, all this business with the Archbishop, it's been very, very hard. You would think at my age, I would be able to be quiet, and I'm still in active ministry. That's what's so funny about it, is that, I mean, I'm still active, and...
In the end, while Katy Perry won the lawsuit, she lost the convent. While the convent battle left a stain on Katy Perry's public image, it wasn't the only challenge she faced in the years that followed. As she attempted a musical comeback with her 2020 album Smile, Perry once again found herself caught in a web of mixed reviews, underwhelming responses, and yet another lawsuit, this time involving a U.S. military veteran. The first setback for Perry in 2020 was her sixth album, Smile, which failed to impress and inspire the fans and critics alike. The clown-themed, joyful album was meant to be a strong comeback for Katy Perry. But just like her previous album, Witness, this one also felt forced, uninspired, and extremely out of touch. One of the biggest reasons the album flopped was that it was released during the global pandemic, and various critics argued that it lacked the emotional depth needed for such troubled times. Songs like Daisies, Smile, and Not the End of the World were meant to be optimistic and empowering. But unfortunately, they came out sounding very shallow and generic. Major news publications like Pitchfork, Vulture, and The Independent criticized the songs from Smile, calling them forgettable, basic, and lyrically weak. Pitchfork specifically pointed out that Smile tried to show cliched positivity that appeared tone-deaf at the time of COVID. While the album performed well on the Billboard Hot 200, peaking at number 5, it was nothing by Katy's own standards, who was known for producing memorable, hit singles that topped all the charts. While Katy's music career was struggling, she found herself in the midst of another fatal lawsuit, this time with U.S. military veteran Carl Westcott. So, back in 2020, Katy Perry, along with her husband Orlando Bloom, bought an 8.5-acre, beautiful mansion in Santa Barbara from a military veteran, Carl Westcott, who is also the founder of 1-800-FOLLOW-ME. At the time of the sale, Carl Westcott was 81 years old and reportedly suffering from a degenerative brain disease. Despite his condition, he personally gave Katy Perry and Orlando Bloom a tour of the property, negotiated the terms, and finalized the deal himself. Just a week after the agreement was signed and the sale was closed, Carl backed out of the deal, claiming that he was not in the right state of mind when he went ahead with the agreement. Carl, who was already 81 years old, cited that just a week before signing the deal with Katy Perry, he had gone through a 6-hour-long back surgery. He stated that he was taking pain meds, which rendered his senses completely incapable of making any sort of financial decision. So, Carl backed out, saying that he was not mentally fit enough to make an informed decision, and Katy Perry should now just consider the agreement null and void. However, Katy, who by this point had gained some solid experience in evicting elderly people from their homes, buying properties without their full consent, and dragging nuns and veterans into lengthy lawsuits, wasn't exactly thrilled to let this one slide. She sued the elderly veteran, who was already on his deathbed, for backing out of the sale. The lawsuit kicked off in 2020 and stretched all the way till 2023 when the court finally sided with Perry, claiming that Carl failed to provide strong enough evidence that he was mentally incapable of signing the deal. This is what the judge said. This proposed decision is crystal clear. The judge has concluded that Mr. Westcott was in full possession of his faculties when he engaged in complex negotiations with multiple parties to finalize the lucrative sale of the property, which ultimately brought him a substantial profit. What's even more bizarre is the fact that Katy sued this elderly person for an additional $2.6 million in damages. Katy's legal team cited that Carl wrongly held the property ownership from her, leading to losses in rental income and cable bills. Well, here's the twist. While Katy was in the process of buying the property, she wrote a blissful, sunshine-soaked letter to Carl, expressing just how overjoyed she was to finally acquire the home of her dreams. In this heartwarming note, she mentioned that she planned to live there with her husband and her baby, who was due later that year. Sounds adorable, right? But cut to the actual legal proceedings, and boom, her true intentions were exposed. Turns out, the pop queen wasn't buying her forever home after all. She actually planned to turn the place into a rental. And just to keep the PR game strong, she told media outlets how badly she wanted to live in Santa Barbara and build a peaceful little family life there. Carl's son, Chart Westcott, was also not content with the judge's decision. He openly called out both the court and Katy, saying that the law had no spirit. This is what Chart said. Where the judge's ruling may follow the letter of the law, it shows that the law has no spirit. Katy Perry will now have to testify in person to receive her damages. He also stated that his father was in frail condition, and Katy and her husband had no empathy at all. He clearly said, if an old man apologizes and says he made a mistake about the house sale, and she's a rich pop star who can buy any other house in the world, you'd think she would let the old man go on his way. It's entitled celebrity behavior. She has no sense of fair play, no empathy, zero empathy, quite the opposite. The worse the condition my father is in, the harsher they've been in trial. It's unfortunate to see the way her lawyers have conducted themselves, bottom of the barrel in terms of ethics. After this whole case blew up on social media, people had very interesting reactions. While some claimed that Katy did nothing wrong, others argued how she ended up fighting 2 lawsuits against ailing, elderly people over real estate properties. It was unfortunate and very funny at the same time that every time she decides to buy a house, it ends up belonging to an elderly person who does not want to go ahead with the deal. And instead of moving on with her life and finding another giant-ass mansion to buy, she decides to sue these disabled, ailing people. Even if she is right in filing these lawsuits, fighting a legal battle against an elderly person who is already on a deathbed does not appear good, especially given the fact that an elderly nun died in a courtroom amidst a legal feud with Perry. What's even more amusing is the fact that Katy's lawsuit against Carl inspired the proposal of a new law named the Perry Act, aimed at safeguarding seniors in real estate transactions. Its centerpiece, a 72-hour cooling-off period for individuals aged 75 or older, during which they can cancel a real estate agreement involving the sale of their home without penalty. This provision was intended to block predatory deals and allow vulnerable elders time to reconsider major property sales.
Now, Carl Westcott and his family are spearheading a new housing act called Protecting Elder Realty for Retirement Years Act, or also known as the Katy Perry Act, and that was launched this weekend. And the purpose of this act is to establish a 72-hour grace period for certain real estate sales and transactions. The act has gained momentum both on a state and local level from representatives. But remember, for a bill to pass, it needs a majority vote, 21 votes in the Senate and 41 votes in the Assembly.
Imagine making so much chaos that people decide to propose a law after your name. Honestly, this might just be the most unintentionally amusing milestone in Katy Perry's entire career. Even though Katy won this case and finally acquired the house of her dreams, things didn't exactly start looking up for her career. It almost felt like she had taken a personal oath to keep making the worst possible decisions and transform herself into a walking spectacle. In 2024, Katy dropped another album titled 143, and surprise, it flopped harder than anyone could have imagined on the Billboard Hot 100. Much like Smile, this album was tone-deaf, shallow, and nowhere near the quality or impact of her earlier work. In a time when artists like Taylor Swift, Sabrina Carpenter, and Dua Lipa were dropping emotionally resonant, culturally relevant music, Katy seemed determined to win the award for Most Out-of-Touch Pop Star.
The most critically panned album I have ever seen in my life. I didn't think it was possible for music reviewers, critics, publications to almost unanimously hate one thing this much, but Katy Perry has truly brought us together in a way that is inspiring, or at least I've been quite inspired to listen to literally anything other than her album. But nevertheless, I figured we'd listen to it together while also looking at some of these horrifying reviews, and we can decide whether or not Katy Perry's album is actually that bad. Or you can decide. I've already heard it. It's not good.
The lead single Woman's World was marketed as a feminist anthem aimed at uplifting women and embracing femininity. But in true Katy fashion, it ended up doing the complete opposite. The video, dripping with random provocative content, completely undercut the supposed message of empowerment. Viewers were left wondering whether this was a parody or just another one of her misguided attempts at wokeness. The anthem missed so hard it landed flat at number 63 on the Billboard Hot 100, only to disappear from the charts entirely just a week later. It was a historic first for Perry, but if her current trajectory continues, definitely not her last. But the cherry on top was the fact that the song was produced by none other than Dr. Luke. Well, while we are busy discussing Katy's long list of achievements and her weird obsession with suing elderly people, we forgot to tell you about Dr. Luke, a controversial public figure who had produced and co-produced multiple of Katy's songs, including the major hits like I Kissed a Girl, California Gurls, Last Friday Night, and Hot and Cold. It was a common belief that Katy's albums eventually began to struggle because Dr. Luke stopped refining them. But that's not the only thing you need to know about Dr. Luke. The guy is known across the entire music industry, and not for good reasons. In 2014, pop star Kesha, who was under contract with him, came forward with shocking allegations. She claimed Dr. Luke covertly dosed and subjected to a violent act towards her at a party back in 2005. But it didn't end there. She also said he emotionally troubled her for years. According to her, working under his contract was nothing short of a living nightmare. Kesha asked to void her contract because, understandably, she didn't want to keep working with a man she accused of abusing her.
Superstar Kesha and the damning allegations that she has leveled against one of the music business's
biggest producers.
Yeah, she is accusing him of horribly abusive acts, physically, mentally, sexually, verbally, emotionally. If it's true, it's reprehensible.
Dr. Luke denied everything, and instead of going away quietly, he sued Keisha for defamation. The two battled it out in court for nearly a decade. Eventually, in 2023, the case ended with a private settlement. Before the settlement, the entire situation caused massive outrage online. It was never just a private legal battle. Celebrities like Taylor Swift, Lady Gaga, Adele, and Anne Hathaway voiced support for Kesha. The internet exploded with support too. Free Kesha started trending, and people even created GoFundMe pages to help her. And all of this makes what Katy Perry did next even more baffling. She knew what Dr. Luke had been accused of. She knew how the public and industry had responded. But somehow, in a jaw-dropping lack of judgment, she decided to partner with him, an alleged predator, for a women empowerment anthem. Yes, Katy wrote a song to empower women and brought in the one man who was accused of covert use of intoxicants and violating another female artist. It was the most hilariously tone-deaf and contradictory pairing in recent pop history. At this point, you really start to wonder if she's trolling us all on purpose. And then when she was asked about this controversial collaboration on the Call Her Daddy podcast, this is literally what she said.
I understand that it started a lot of conversations, and he was one of many collaborators that I collaborated with. But the reality is it comes from me. The truth is I wrote these songs from my experience of my whole life going through this metamorphosis. And he was one of the people to help facilitate all that, one of the writers, one of the producers. And I am speaking from my own experience. Like when I speak about Woman's World, I speak about feeling so empowered now as a mother, as a woman, giving birth, creating life, creating another set of organs, a brain, a heart. I created a whole ass heart and I did it and I'm still doing it and I'm still a matriarch and feeling really grounded in that. That's where I'm speaking from. Yeah. And so I created all of this with several different collaborators, people that I've collaborated with from the past, from Teenage Dream.
We are pretty sure she herself did not know what she was blabbering here. While the album 143 was a disappointment in itself, Katy's collaboration with Dr. Luke just set everyone off and created a big controversy for her. But what Katy did after this was even more unexpected and wild. She decided to become an astronaut and go on a divine all-women space trip. The reason for doing this was that she liked astronomy, astrology, and astrophysics.
I'm really excited about the engineering of it all. I'm excited to learn more about STEM and just the math about what it takes to accomplish this type of thing.
Is math related to science?
I was winding down from a rehearsal the other day and I was listening to Cosmos by Carl Sagan and reading a book on string theory, and yeah, I was like going to bed. That was definitely like helping. I was like, Pythagoras. I've always been interested in astrophysics and interested in astronomy and astrology and the stars. I feel like we are all made of stardust.
But that wasn't the only ridiculous part. According to Katy and all the ultra-rich women who joined her on this vanity voyage, the Blue Origin flight was supposedly a gesture of hope for the planet and a boost for future generations of women. Yes, seriously. They marketed the whole 11-minute rocket ride as a gift to Mother Earth and a beacon of empowerment.
Hoping that this moment affects change for other people moving forward.
I hope they can see the unity that we modeled and replicate that and understand that we weren't just taking up space, we were making space for the future. And for me, like Gail said, this wasn't a ride, it wasn't a destination, it was a journey, and it was a supernatural one. And
But here's the thing. How exactly is burning through massive fuel reserves, spending over $200 million, and launching into space for a selfie moment helping the Earth? People everywhere were scratching their heads, asking that same question.
3, taking up space! Woo! What do you guys
gonna do up in space? What are you doing up there? Space exploration was to further our knowledge and to help mankind. I mean, what are they gonna do up there?
Popular pop singer Lily Allen also called out Katy Perry and her team for launching this unnecessary space trip, saying, "It's so out of touch. Like, we're on the brink of recession. People are really struggling to make ends meet and put food on their tables. And the fact that they've, made it like some sort of feminist thing." While Lily absolutely hit the nail on the head, she later issued an apology to her fellow pop star, clarifying that it wasn't fair to dump all the blame on Katy just because she was the most famous face on the flight. According to Lily, the entire team was responsible, and it wasn't exactly kind of her to single Perry out. What made this stunt even worse was that this mission was arranged by Blue Origin, a company founded by none other than Jeff Bezos, whose Amazon empire is arguably responsible for a good chunk of the planet's environmental damage. So no, this luxury space trip did not exactly scream sustainability.
Morning. That's end time shit. Like, this is beyond parody. Saying that you care about Mother Earth and it's about Mother Earth and you're going up in a spaceship that is built and paid for by a company that's single-handedly destroying the planet. Look at the state of the world and think about how many resources went into putting these women into space. For what? For what was the marketing there? And then to try to make it like, I'm disgusted.
Even before takeoff, it was clear to most people that this wasn't about empowerment. It was just another flashy PR stunt for the rich and famous to feel deep and look important. And honestly, the way Katy and the rest of them carried themselves during their short ride to the edge of space, smiling, waving, and acting like they were changing the world, only highlighted just how completely out of touch, privileged, and oblivious they truly were.
Tamir's in space. Flynn, bye. Flynn, I gotcha. I gotcha, Flynn.
Gotcha. Proud of you, Flynn.
Just listen to Katy Perry going on about feeling connected to love, and you will know exactly what we are talking about.
Super connected to love. So connected to love. I think this experience has shown me you never know how much love is inside of you, like how much love you have to give, and how loved you are until the day you launch.
Despite very confidently claiming that this trip was all about Mother Earth, Katy kept promoting her album and upcoming tour in space.
Oh, the moon! You guys, I have to tell you, look at the moon. That's amazing.
Wow, look at the blue line.
Okay. Now it's time to look out.
In every sense imaginable, the Blue Origin all-female space trip was the most bizarre thing Katy Perry could have possibly done to promote her music. It was a complete waste of millions of dollars and resources, and yet these women came back acting like they had just saved the Earth from an alien invasion.
Katy!
I just have to have a moment with the ground. Let me just appreciate the ground for just a second.
And to make it even more awkward, the timing of this tone-deaf PR stunt couldn't have been worse. Just 2 weeks after her space escapade, Katy was set to kick off her world tour, starting in Mexico. But with the epic failure of her album 143, the backlash over working with Dr. Luke, and now the cringeworthy space mission, Katy walked into her tour with a dark cloud hanging overhead. People were dragging her all over social media. Some were roasting her with memes, while others were calling her out for being a hypocrite, especially for collaborating with an alleged offender on a so-called feminist anthem. All of this combined took a major toll on her Katy Lifetime tour, especially in the US, where she reportedly struggled to sell tickets and was met with a far colder reception than she had hoped for. Various media outlets pointed out that she was performing to noticeably empty crowds.
Katy Perry has barely sold any tickets to her upcoming tour, and there is one shocking reason as to why this could be. So Katy Perry is going on her Lifetimes tour, which is basically her version of the Eras tour, meaning she'll be performing songs from all of her albums. Now, we know how hard it was to get Eras tour tickets. And Katy Perry is a very popular artist, like not as big as Taylor Swift, but she is big. So a lot of people were expecting this tour to sell out very quickly. However, these tickets are not selling. These are the tickets left in North Carolina, these are the tickets left in Arizona, and these are the tickets left in Minneapolis. So why are these tickets not selling? Like, is there a specific reason? Well, I think there is a specific reason, and I think I figured out what it is. Katy Perry is still working with Dr. Luke even after all of the allegations that were made against him.
On top of that, her half-baked, awkwardly choreographed, and poorly executed stage performances also went viral, thanks to numerous clips of Katy doing some truly baffling dance moves that left people asking, what on earth is she doing? There was even a moment during one of her shows where a giant space alien prop, clearly part of her whole out-of-this-world theme, malfunctioned and nearly toppled into the crowd, narrowly avoiding disaster as it hovered above hundreds of stunned audience members. These moments left longtime fans feeling more disappointed than ever. People who had paid good money to see her perform live were furious, questioning whether she had rehearsed at all before hitting the stage. Some called on her to retire peacefully, while others gently urged her to take a step back and reflect on her increasingly bizarre artistic choices. And of course, her ill-timed space trip just days before the tour began didn't help the situation. It only intensified the backlash as social media lit up with space-themed jokes at her expense. Even fast food chains like Wendy's joined in on the mockery. In every sense of the word, Katy's Lifetimes tour is spiraling into a spectacular mess. And the worst part? It's still not over. However, a group of die-hard Katy Perry fans, still loyal and unapologetically obsessed, banded together to fund a massive billboard in New York's Times Square just to show their unwavering support for her. The billboard was their way of pushing back against all the criticism and judgment Katy had been drowning in since the release of her album 143. It lit up with messages of love, reminding Katy that she was safe, seen, and celebrated. Naturally, Katy shared a video of the billboard on her Instagram, responding both to her fans and the haters. She reassured everyone that she was doing just fine, writing, "When the online world makes me a human piñata, I take it with grace and send them love, because I know so many people are hurting in so many ways, and the internet is very much a dumping ground for the unhinged and unhealed." So, there you have it. The wild roller coaster that is Katy Perry's post-2010 career. From legal battles with elderly nuns and war veterans, to selling feminist anthems produced by an alleged offender, to a bizarre space trip that looked more like a PR stunt than a step for womankind, Katy's every move lately has been surrounded by controversy. Her once unstoppable pop career now seems riddled with missteps, tone-deaf decisions, and flops that even loyal fans are struggling to defend. And let's not forget the underwhelming tours, awkward stage moments, and questionable creative choices that have made headlines for all the wrong reasons. While some fans still adore her and stand by her through thick and thin, others feel she's become a caricature of her former self, more spectacle than substance. So now, the real question is, does Katy Perry deserve all the backlash she's getting? Is this a case of an artist simply being out of touch? Or is she being unfairly targeted because of her fame? Has she lost her artistic spark, or is the public just being too harsh? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Don't hold back. If you enjoyed this breakdown or learned something new, be sure to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe for more deep dives into pop culture chaos, and hit that bell icon so you don't miss what's coming next. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.